All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. All right, very good. 3.2, receive the financial report provided by the City of Bastrop's Chief Financial Officer for the period ending 2022.
Okay, so that's provided in the packet for review. And if there are any comments or anything, please let me know, and I can address them then with Tracy. But since we have the data there and there's no major issues or anything where we've got, it didn't make sense to hold Tracy over for that. So, any comments or any questions from anybody?
Certainly nice to see the strong sales tax continue for everyone.
That's obviously a good thing. We like that. Shop here in Bastrop, please. Okay, very good. All right, we're going to move on to 3.3, presentation by BEDC consultant Stephen Weathers, and let's see if we can't get Stephen on the go-to meeting. Hi, Stephen. How you doing?
Hey, guys. How's everybody this afternoon or this evening?
We're doing well, sir. Thank you.
Let's, Ron, let me check. Is my audio and video okay?
Yes, it sure is. Thank you.
Okay. Good. Okay, so I can jump right into this. Thank you, guys, for engaging me to help you with your economic development efforts there in Bastrop. So as you all know, I developed a scope of services, which you guys all approved, and I'm happy to provide that to you or others if anybody wants to see it. It's more of a public document, so I'm happy to send that on. And what I want to do tonight is just really talk real quickly about the first kind of steps in that first phase. And that first phase is going to be meeting with a number of partners, and I'm not going to run through all the names, but I'm going to give you an idea of who they are. And this is really to gather input from them on where we are, where we need to go, and how we're going to get there. And let me ask real quick, Ron, was a memo with some questions distributed to the members there? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So
we all have it.
why maybe a few of you got this and maybe a few of you did not. I broke this up into different buckets here. One are elected officials of the City of Bastrop, mayor and council members. Next are the Bastrop board members that are non-elected. Okay, I want to kind of keep the electeds together and then non-elected. And then I also have city staff on here, primarily the city manager, 2 assistant city managers, and the CFO. And there can be others, but I wanted to start with the city leadership. And then a couple of economic development partners, the Chamber of Commerce and Visit Bastrop. So the copy you have in front of you for the board, the memo pretty much looks the same with just about every group. It's a few tweaks, but generally the body of it explains that I've been engaged on this, what I'm going to be doing, and I will be in town there next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And if you notice, the date on this memo is April 19th. That's tomorrow. I wanted to kind of get your blessing on this before it goes out and becomes more public. If you bless this tonight, the staff will then start to send this to all the individuals that the groups that I've mentioned. The one exception is with the mayor and the members of council. I did email Alan, and I apologize, I cannot pronounce Alan's last name, the city attorney, just asking him, really at the suggestion of Charlie Zek, how best to get this into the hands of the elected officials so we kind of stay within open meeting laws and all of those things. So just waiting to hear back from him, and then we'll make sure this gets into everybody's hands. So the memo talks about the process, meeting with everybody, mentions generally who the stakeholders are. And then the questions here are fairly straightforward. I'm looking for about a 30 to 40 minute meeting with each of the individuals. It would be individual meetings, more so than small group or something. And really it's pretty simple here. What do they think are the biggest issues or hurdles for the city of Bastrop with respect to economic development? What would you suggest in strengthening the relationship between the city and the Economic Development Corporation? What steps can the Bastrop EDC take to strengthen the economy here in the city of Bastrop? And then if you looked out a year from now, how would you measure success? And I find that question number 4 is interesting because when I've asked it of groups, I get various answers. There's no one common answer as to how everybody manages or their measurement of success. So that's going to be an interesting one to see how people respond. What I'll do is after I've met with everybody, And I don't know if that'll happen this visit or I'll take another visit, but it'll take a little time. I'll then draft up a report for everybody to review. It won't be a final report. It'll be more of a draft for you to look at as here's kind of what I was told. Here are some suggestions, and maybe here's some steps we can take in the coming months to strengthen the relationship and just strengthen the economy there in the city of Bastrop. So that's really it. Like I say, I'm happy to make sure everybody has a copy of the letter. Again, it's not a private document. It could be more of a public document, and also the scope of work that we'll take on over the next number of months. Okay. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Anybody here have any questions about the memo that was sent out by
Can
Steve?
I please have a copy of it?
I'm sorry, I thought I just handed you.
Well, Angela said I'm not allowed to have a copy of it, but I'd like to have a copy of it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Mayor, this is Steve Weathers again. Yeah, one of the things I wasn't sure about, and I didn't want to make sure, I want to make sure we didn't violate any laws, open meeting laws in Texas. So I did not provide one to you or to Councilmember Plunkett just because you're elected. You would get it more with the elected packet, but whatever's the right way to distribute this, so we stay within the rules that are that cover this. I just want to make sure that we're doing this the right way.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you. And Mr. Zek, you want to clarify that for Mr. Weathers?
No, I think I just scared him a little bit.
Okay. But as a board member, I can have a copy of it.
Now, a question I do have for all of you, actually, staff raised this, which is a good question, is you do have a hard copy. Just to make sure everybody has this, one of the things we thought about, not to duplicate things, was when these go out is to email it to the groups. So when it goes to mayor and council, it would be emailed to them at one time. When it goes to the city staff, it would be emailed to them. So we can email this to you also, although you have a hard copy. That way we know we're kind of covered and everybody has this. So if there's no objection to that, you may receive this in an email format tomorrow. Okay?
All right, we're going to hear a little bit from Charlie. His microphone was not on. So Charlie, if you'll finish the answer, please.
Sure, yeah, yeah. I don't know where to start. But anyway, yes, the mayor and
Councilmember
the other
Plunkett.
councilman can have copies of it if they're on the board, and it's less than a quorum of city council, so it's not an issue.
Which means Steve.
All right, so, one more time. The two members of council, of the board, who are also on city council, because it's less than a quorum, may receive a copy of it with the board, to clarify any misunderstandings.
Okay, great, thank you. Let's give Mayor a minute here to read and see if there's any questions here.
Seems pretty straightforward. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Well, we are definitely looking forward, Steve, to this analysis that you're going to do for us and coming up with the answers to these questions. Like you said, I also agree there's going to be a lot of differences of opinions of what success looks like. And I think that's an excellent question that you're asking of everybody that you're, going to be meeting with, because there's not one answer that fits all. One size simply just doesn't fit all. And when you have a group of really good folks here on both city council, EDC, city staff, that, good level of folks there, it's going to be interesting to see what the responses are going to be, and then the collation of those responses to put together. So we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it'll actually be good. I think Bastrop has a great foundation of people, of assets, resources. I know you all want to go in the same direction, and I think I maybe can just bring some, some clarity to things, and we make sure everybody's kind of pointing in the right direction. So I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of you next week. So expect a call, pass it around to you, whoever's on the list here. The staff will be probably contacting everybody starting Tuesday or Tuesday afternoon to try and get things set up. And we'll do as much as we can, and then we'll make whatever trips back we need to and kind of get the next steps moving along on this, okay?
Okay, any other questions? The letter is definitely good to go as far as we're concerned, Steve. So,
Okay, then we'll make sure staff will get this out. If you guys need me to stay on, I will. If not, I'm gonna sign off and let you get back to your business.
yeah, I think we're good. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay, I will see you guys all next week.
Very good.
Thank you, Ron. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. All right, excellent. Okay, we will move on now to 3.4, and that is presentation and update by Doucette & Associates Engineering about the infrastructure project in the Bastrop Business and Industrial Park.
Well, hello, everyone. So in general, when we start an engineering project, the first month and a half is generally data collection. So right now, we're in the process, actually, we've actually completed the geotechnical.
Yeah, I'm sorry, could we have your name, please?
I'm so sorry, yeah, I'm David Spike with Doucette and Associates.
Excellent, thank you, sir.
I should know better than that, huh? So our geotechnical has been complete. Our sub-utility engineering has been complete. Our survey has been complete, and we've even surveyed in the geotechnical holes and the sewer holes. We've located the gas mains that are out there, that are underground. So we actually know the horizontal and vertical alignments of those mains. I haven't quite got the survey back yet, so I'm still in the process of trying to figure out about the connection to the sewer that we talked about the last time I was here. I don't know if y'all remember that we may have to go way off-site. Hopefully we won't have to. So give me a couple more days and I'll be able to give you all some feedback on that. Am I jumping ahead of you? No. Okay, right on schedule. So again, the geotechnical bores have all been completed. Nothing majorly found that was abnormal, so that's good news. The environmental has also started. Part of our contract is to do the first assessment to see where we really have to go from there. And our environmental expert has had some very good meetings with several organizations, and we've actually started the listening devices we put them out there to listen for the toads, and hopefully they make good music for us. Anybody want to hear that? Let me know, and I'll let you listen to it.
See, I'm hoping there is no music and there are no toads.
That's right. We don't want singing out there, thank you.
I can just see that. I'm in the commercials. So anyway, we're in that process as well. We've also out there delineating any wetlands and stuff like that to make sure that things are not what we think they might be. So we're just trying to clean up all those things. So I would expect the next time I come back here to see you that I have some information to show you, like maybe even a 30% design, things of that nature. But as of right now, we're really into the process of obtaining the data. I did want to let you guys know that we were approached by Mocha Ventures. They have the property to the north, and they're asking us if we want to pretty much be their engineers because we're already doing the environmental. Quite honestly, I wanted to really hear what the board felt about that because I'm going to be working with a developer, and if you guys are okay with it, we'll probably jump on board the way if you're not, or if you want to think about it, you can do that as well. It's totally up to you guys, but.
Any comments from anybody on that?
I mean, my comment is, I'm okay with it. It's a separate contract, clear, separate scope of
Yes,
works.
and we got to
so-
meet the city's requirements anyway,
Correct.
so.
Yeah. It makes me look at our attorney who says no problem, so.
Okay, all right, that's good. I'm not guaranteeing we're gonna do it. We're gonna figure out some stuff. They gave me a survey, and the first thing we did was look at their survey and said, So, I'll let y'all know next time I'm here how that went. So again, next time I should have a 30% I can give you guys some information on, and we should be able to give you a lot more information on the environmental and what we're going to do next, and most certainly I'll be able to let you know how we're going to handle this sewer. I'm really worried about the sanitary sewer, how we're going to handle that. But we should have all that data here now, and I can start doing that. So, any other questions? Everybody happy? Oh.
Those are two separate questions.
All right, with no questions, I'll get out of y'all's hair.
All right, thank you very
You're
much, sir.
welcome.
All right. All right, we're going to be moving on to 3.5, discussion and possible action regarding the selection of a search firm to hire a new CEO for the BEDC. And I would ask Jen if you will take this one, please.
So what we ended up doing is looking at 5 different firms to kind of evaluate where their area of specialty is, come up with a selection that we could present to the board. The board received information and proposals for each of these groups, including the HT Group, Frontline Source Group, Johnson and Associate, Jorgensen and Consulting, as well as we had a fifth entry. Chris Harting Consulting was also considered in the mix. Based on a review of the information that was presented, I did make a recommendation. I'd also like to hear what the board's thoughts are related to their thoughts in terms of, the type of firm we'd like to go with. And then I'd be happy to share why my recommendation is the Jorgensen Consulting Group, if anybody's interested in hearing it.
Sure, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Okay. So with this particular organization, what really impressed me was the fact that they're not a general practice firm. They really specialize in nonprofit, economic, community development organizations focused on growing local, regional, and statewide economies. Their network is really in the private sector and includes real estate developers, bankers, lawyers, C-suite executives, site consultants, and other established professionals within the field of nonprofit, economic, and community development organizations. They provide an in-depth screening process as part of their research to ensure the candidates that they deliver represent the most qualified in their field. In addition to that, I was really impressed with the methodology and search strategies that they use, including the networking research that they do and the proactive recruitment. I really like the fact that they use a modern advertising method. It's very old school to produce a brochure and mail it out to areas versus using social media and more streamlined ways in which to capture individuals who may be interested in this position, as well as going out and soliciting individuals to apply. I also like the fact that they include diversity and inclusion in when they're actually seeking candidates. I think that's very important because it adds to our community. What also impressed me is the candidate interview and selection process. They personally conduct the interviews. They do social media background checks as well as search engine checks and looking for objectionable material. They provide, and this I really liked, an oral brief of each candidate highlighting their accomplishments, their strengths, their interest in the position, as well as their personal information. They don't just simply hand over a binder or a printed copy like a lot of firms do. I also like their interview suggestion process. The first round of interview style really tests the candidates in various forms and allows the search committee to really get to know the candidates in a more personal setting. So it's not just an interview process. What I also liked is the final round interview process that they use, which involves the candidate's family. This ensures the fact that the family needs and considerations are not overlooked in this process, especially as we're looking for individuals who are relocating to the area. So their families matter. In addition to that, they qualify the references, as well as their fees are basically in line with the industry norms compared to businesses the same size. And last but not least, they provided a list of 20 recent placement candidates from January 2020 to March 2022 that align closely with the individual we're seeking in this role. The list includes placements in San Antonio, Frisco, as well as the president of the Chamber of Commerce for Austin. So.
Well, I really appreciate you sending the information out ahead of time so we had a chance to review everything. That was extremely helpful, and it was nice to have a broad cross-section. I'm concerned with 30% of a salary and bonus. This seems to be geared towards positions that are of a higher essentially a higher position than what we're looking for with respect to, it wasn't just San Antonio, it's greater San Antonio. And the person they hired had 24 people on staff. And at Frisco, they have 12 people on staff. And the Austin Chamber had 8 direct reports. So it seems to be like they are more focused on C-suite and a higher salary and a higher deal. So when I was, and 30% of the salary and a $39,500 minimum, and then some of the, as I'm reviewing it, some of the additional things that you were talking about are on top of that fee. You pay
No, actually not with this particular firm. And some of the other firms, like the Chris Harding Consulting, that one actually, they nickel and dime you. So in terms of the marketing brochure they would produce, we would actually have to pay for those costs. The mailing costs, the production of the piece itself, as well as the crafting of that particular piece.
Oh, I guess what I'm referring to is page
The,
8 that talk, can I finish? Because I listened to you, so I'd like to just kind of finish my thought. The personality assessment test is $125 an hour, $250 for this. So they all seem to have some additional prices. And it looked like HT, Frontline, and Jorgensen all had a 30%, to your point of that appears to be somewhat common. Jorgensen being the only firm that's out of Greensboro, North Carolina. I was impressed with Johnson and Associates, who their fee was at $18,000 fee, and their placements included Katy, Coppers Cove, EDC. They seem to be really focused on EDC, and the team that they put together had EDC certification. So and they also, many of us know Carlton Schwab, Schwab, I think Jean will help me say that, Schwab's correct, right? Who's the chair of TEDC. And we know that much like a lot of professions, it's a bit of a small world, and they all kind of know each other. So Johnson and Associates is in Austin, was $18,000, and had a number of placements that seemed to be much more relevant to the placement that we would be having. And to your point, Chris Hartung was at $16,000, Johnson and Associates was at $18,000, and I know that this board has oversight and manages money that's collected by sales tax, that's a local sales tax, and they often tend to, we may even get some pushback of Austin is sometimes too far away, but I have a bit of an issue with us going out of state. So that, and thank you for letting me finish. But that was my thoughts on it.
Yeah, one thing that, I mean, that's really good information from you, Jen, from Mary, you as well. That's really good information. One thing I'd like to, at least for us to take into consideration when we're looking for this, we've gone through this now twice, I think, in the last 4 years. And we've had, it's been difficult with some of the search firms that we have used in the past. And I think one of the things that we at least need to understand is that we do need a firm that is a good, top-notch firm that can get the level of people that we need in order to accomplish what we're trying to do. And you're right. I mean, that is a lot of money, and wages right now have gone up substantially in the area. Everybody's prices for services rendered have gone up substantially, and it's just something to take in consideration that it's nice to have a lower cost and local, and that's really good points. It's also nice to have an understanding, at least how I understand what you just said, was that these people are really a top-tier firm that may be able to give us a little bit more than just kind of in the local pool that we're in with Johnson folks. it's just something to consider here is all. I'm not, recommending one or the other. I'm just saying that we do need to take into consideration when we go and do this. Let me ask you this. Is it possible to go back and maybe talk a little bit more to some of these folks? And one would be to reaching out to the Jorgensen folks and find out, is there any negotiation room in that? Is that a firm type of deal, or is there some real negotiations on that? And maybe delve down a little bit farther, peel the onion down a little bit farther, and ask some more really probing questions, if you will, on, to the mayor's point, how many people did they have on the staff? Are they looking for just the top level of folks where we know that that's going to be a little bit more, or do they have some room in that kind of stuff? And then the Johnson folks, let's get some more information of who they hired, what their luck was, how many candidates did they have, so we can kind of get maybe a little bit more information. I don't really want to hold this thing up too much longer for the next board meeting, because that's a month away from now, and we are without an executive director or a CEO. So, other inputs, please?
Well, I think it's important to note that we used a search firm for one of those placements, and the last time around, we tried to do it ourselves. So I think we've learned that that's not a good pass. And I think it's also worth noting, of the 5 firms that we're talking about, we've used none of them in the past. So we would expect to get some different results than, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like, well, we used somebody 2 times ago and they didn't do well, and now we're considering the same person again.
So, go ahead.
Just going to ask, Johnson Associates, if I understood this description correctly, they focused entirely in the community, economic development, that kind of, okay, so they're very more specialized.
Yeah, they're a
more like-
boutique firm, yeah, so just a couple staff members, and that's all they do as well. So Jorgensen as well. So what we tried to do is get a cross-section of different types of firms, many of them based here in Texas or Austin. So as far as Frontline and HT Group are basically top firms here in Austin. And full-featured firms. So the idea behind this is the firm that we do go with has the staff, the resources to not only recruit, but also support us in that recruitment effort, the interview process, the background checks, ensuring the fact that the level of the candidates that come in are already vetted. So that's a big piece of the services for all of these groups, basically.
Now, in Jorgensen, they're going to have hourly fees for things that they're tasked with
Actually,
doing.
the only thing was the personality test, and that's an option. That is not a mandated thing.
Okay.
If you want a personality test for the candidate, they'll provide that service. The same is true for CHC. They charge if you want to develop a brochure. They charge for the development of the brochure, the printing of the brochure, the mailing of the brochure. So the different firms offer different services. Jorgensen doesn't do a brochure unless you want them to do a brochure. So again, each agency provides a different suite of product that they're offering.
So their compensation would come primarily from the successful finding
Yeah.
of it, okay.
They all do that, actually, from successful placement.
Well, and they get a higher fee, the higher salary that's negotiated, because they get a percentage of the fee. One thing that I forgot to note on Johnson & Associates, which you can see on page 15 of their proposal, pages 15 and 16, that's a pretty hefty list, to your point, and thank you for clarifying that they are a boutique firm that specializes in economic development. I think it's interesting that there are repeat customers, and sometimes it's a couple of years apart, because sometimes you get a really good person and then they get another really good offer, and sometimes it's several years apart. But I think if an organization's willing to use you again, that's a pretty good sign that they're able to make a good placement.
Now, in Mayor Connie was talking earlier, I think she was alluding to maybe Jorgensen sounded too big for this salary level that we're looking for. Did you get that sense, or did they?
Not when I interviewed them, no, not,
Okay.
that wasn't the situation at all, so.
So you told them kind of the range?
Right.
Okay.
So the list of 20 involves all different types of size communities around the United States. What I did was mention 3 recent ones in the state of Texas.
Right. Thank you.
Let me ask this question. If you were to, I guess, grade HT, Frontline, Johnson, and Jorgensen, and then the other firm, I'm sorry. CHC, thank you very much. Would it, in your opinion, would Johnson & Johnson be like the second one you would have chosen versus Jorgensen? Are they close in rankings, I guess?
My personal opinion, their business style is different. Jorgensen is more of a full, comprehensive approach, and that's one of the reasons I recommended them, because they also look at the interviewing process and getting into that level of detail, for instance, including families. They're the only group that did that. But to your question, would Johnson & Associate be the second one? Most likely.
All right. Like I said, I'm gonna go back to my earlier comment here. I would really like to get us off the dime here and get moving, because I don't feel that we can wait yet another 30 days here, and then maybe even longer than that, after that. So, I mean, if there is a big difference between the two firms, there's pros and cons on both sides, but I think that Johnson Associates might be a better pick simply because they are local. They're working specifically with economic development corporations. They are about half the price, if I understand it correctly.
As a correction,
Yeah.
they both work with economic development corporations.
Oh, okay.
so.
Okay, I appreciate that. I guess what I'm getting to is that we do have to be careful with the amount of money that we spend. As we all know, like I said earlier, all salaries are going up higher and higher these days, and we're spending a lot more money on things that last year we weren't necessarily spending it on. So I guess I'm going to make a recommendation that, and I'm not making a motion here. I'm just making a recommendation. That we would go with Johnson & Associates primarily because they do have good experience. They were, if you will, kind of second as far as the grading is concerned, and they do have a better price on it. But again, I'd like to hear the other directors.
How important is being local versus being out of state to you, or anybody?
I would say being able to get things done quicker. I think time is very important right now. Time is kind of pretty much of the essence. We have to move. We have to get going on this. And sometimes you may not get everything that you want, but you may get what you need, if that's an old adage from a Rolling Stone song. But,
I
One of the
think
old
the
adages.
question was local as far as the firm is concerned.
Yes.
So,
'Cause I don't really have a concern with them being out of state, anyone. Because, a lot of people are going to move from somewhere for this job.
Yeah, I also don't have a problem with out of state. And, one of the adages is good, fast, and cheap. You might get 2 out of the 3. We've been playing with cheap and fast, and I'm not sure we're hitting it on good on anything.
Well, we've been playing it by ourselves, so we haven't really been
Well,
playing.
that's the cheap side.
Yeah.
I mean, you do it by yourself, that's dirt cheap, and you don't get good. You get quick, and so, I mean, that adage, like any project, is the same. Good, fast, and cheap. You're only going to get 2 out of the 3 at best. And, you kind of look through what's happening, whether it's local or international or national. I said, I don't see any difference between that, really. I like what we've asked Jen to do and gone into the details. And, I fully support, her recommendation that she's seen as Jorgensen as a full case group that can really deliver the goods for what we need. That's why we kind of charged that and brought it together. So how long are we going to keep going without a director? How long are we going to keep spending money, or in the worst case, Mayor, not spending money, developing economic opportunities because we just lack the leadership within the organization, the staff leadership, in order to bring this through? So, I mean, we need fast and we need good. I'm okay with it not being cheap, if that's what we can get, because we need to move forward. I mean, yeah, collecting tax money is great, but if we're hung up for another 6 months or another 8 months without firm leadership, then, you know, we're probably doing a greater disservice than the delta in the cost of the two recruiting firms. Just my opinion.
You know, as a vibrant rural Texas community, I have a real concern about the expenditure of public funds out of state anyway. I prefer the money to be spent in state. Reading over the packets, there were obvious top three in there in my book. The bottom two were Frontline and HT Group. The other three would work quite well within the scheme of things that we're trying to do. And their packets were somewhat similar. There were some little nuances in there that changed it somewhat. But the Johnson Group really stood out because of their boutique nature as well as their successes. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to recommend the Johnson Group as our choice for search of a EDC director.
Second.
All right, we have a motion here. Then all in favor of going with Johnson Associates for the firm we choose for the executive search for the BEDC CEO, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Oh, boy, 6 and 6. Okay, we're going to have more discussion on it then, because,
You got 3 and 2?
no,
There's
we have
3
3
and
and
3.
3. We have 3 and 3, sorry.
I didn't see you.
Yeah. Okay.
I would recommend, if we're going to table it for now, I would recommend that Jen take a look at a side-by-side and come up with a deeper, like your questions were asking some deeper things, and then come up with an estimated scenario cost detailed on what we would be expecting, and be able to look at the services and the costing in a side-by-side type presentation. One slide, and kind of bring that together. Otherwise, we're each interpreting, 15, 18 pages and pulling the pieces out. So I think Jen made some good comments. This was included, but we wouldn't be using that. We would be using this. It could be a good summary.
Okay. Do you feel, Jen, that we have we need more work to get more side-by-side, apples-to-apples comparison to see what the actual costs are, so we know specifically it's going to be this much more if we were to go with Jorgensen, or this much less if we were going to go, with Johnson?
Absolutely. I could develop a matrix comparison, one slide, basically putting down the features of each agency, whether that agency provides that level of service, as well as the additional fees associated with those services and the total fee.
I'm extremely interested in the placements. That's one of the reasons that I had Johnson and Associates, and by the way, and I don't know how the rest of you guys feel, but I also had HT and Frontline on the bottom. So Johnson and Associates and their list of placements and the size towns, the fact that they're all in Texas, and specifying that their boutique, their niche is economic development directors for towns our size in the state of Texas. And Director Waugh, I think you're saying, I don't think you didn't put a proposal in unless you thought they could do the work, right? And I think you said you would put them second?
I'm happy to do a matrix for the three.
Well, I guess I'm trying to be respectful to Mr. Gossett's comment that time's of the essence and we need to move forward. So if we continue to if we put it off for another month, then we're losing 4 more weeks.
My big concern about Johnson & Associates is the fact that when you look at their website, when you look at the services that they offer compared to Jorgensen, they are behind the times. And I don't mean to be disrespectful with that. It's just, it seems like they have a set model that they use, and it has not evolved. And that would be very disconcerting because Bastrop is evolving. We are looking for a top caliber candidate with skills and capabilities to help grow the community because we are unique in the sense of what is around us, what we're trying to do as a city. We're not your typical, and I think we would all agree, 10,000 citizen town here. And so with that in mind, ensuring the fact that that candidate that is identified is recruited in, the best style or the best fashion. I'm not a big proponent of old-fashioned marketing techniques just because, that's what they've always done. I would really like to see the opportunity to identify candidates and go after them versus, hey, I'm going to print up a brochure, send it to you, and maybe you'll apply versus proactively recruiting candidates that we really want in this position. And that's kind of where I'm seeing the differences in the groups. But again, I'm happy to do what everybody wants to do as far as this is concerned.
Well, I don't think we voted on doing the side-by-side, so I'm not sure we can say that everybody wants us to do a side-by-side. Like I said, I'm trying to be respectful of Mr. Gossett and the timing. And again, my impression was if you didn't think they could do the job, you wouldn't have put them in the search firm in the Dropbox. And you also had them rated as second. So I didn't think we were discussing whether or not we thought they could do the job.
But all of them were in the Dropbox, so it was the ones that they reached out. It wasn't just the 5. It's the data that she provided for us. The other question I have out of this for Johnson is, apparently they have been our service provider before because in 1997 and 1999, only 2 years later, they filled the position of the Bastrop Economic Development Corporation. So maybe someone who has the ancient history of Bastrop could reflect on who was hired in 87.
I want the record to show that I'm offended that when he said ancient history that he looked at me.
97
I want
and 99.
that on the record.
97 and 99, obviously they were filled 2 years after filling one. We filled again, but then apparently didn't use Johnson anymore thereafter, or didn't see it worthwhile to pursue Johnson. So it'd be interesting to know at least some of that background, maybe from Johnson or from Bastrop history.
I wouldn't mind seeing the comparison. And is there any reason we couldn't have a special meeting, a quick one, to make another vote on this 2 weeks from now?
I mean,
We might want to make sure that Mr. Plunkett can be there. That's the beauty of a 7-person board, was
Sure.
to avoid the ties.
right. I mean, yes, to answer your question, Jeff, we can have a special meeting. That is true. We have 2 choices here. We have 3 choices here, actually. We can table this discussion, number 1. We can call a special meeting, number 2, but we can also amend the motion, number 3. So we can either amend it and vote again, or we can table it, or we can call a special meeting. Those are the 3 items. That's 3 methodologies. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Charlie. Isn't that correct? Okay. I don't think 2 weeks is asking too much to review this thing. So I kind of like that idea, to be honest with you, so we can have more detailed information and maybe peel the onion down a little bit longer. So I kind of like that idea, but I'd like to hear from the rest of you as well.
I'm okay with that idea. 2 weeks, I'd hate to push it out any further than 2 weeks. I think we need to expedite this as much as possible. I think we need to look at this, and methodology can be both subjective and objective, and we need to be very careful about how we do that. Although Johnson's, what impressed me was although most of their placements were in Texas, the net that they cast went way outside of the state lines. And I was impressed that a Texas firm did that with quite a bit of regularity. So it's 2 weeks, as far as I'm concerned, is more than enough time.
Can I propose something for y'all? Would you like during that 2-week meeting to have each of the firms present? Okay, a 15-minute presentation? Yeah.
As long as it's not all 5 of them.
No.
But yeah, I was
I'm
going to suggest just the top 3.
All right.
I think we're
Or
at the top two.
Top 2.
Okay.
I'll go with that.
So 20-minute time limit for each of them?
I'd cut it down. If they can't get it over in 10 minutes, then
Well,
if it takes them more than that to get it out.
I would say
Mr.
basically.
Gossett, you need to put on your mic or they can't hear you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think if it goes more than 10 minutes, if they can't make their case in 10 minutes,
Well, we have to allude make time for questions.
yeah, that's okay to
Yeah.
have questions, but if they're talking at us for 20 minutes, then they're selling us instead of providing the service. That's my
Yeah, and
opinion.
I agree, yeah, I teach sales enablement, yeah.
Yeah, and we
So,
got their background data, and
yeah.
I hope they don't just repeat what they wrote in 15 pages.
Not
No, that's-
likely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, 2 presentations then?
So I guess what I need to do is to table this particular discussion and bring it up on the next one.
I believe legal counsel has said the word would be postponed, am I right? Does it matter? Okay. Just for your information, we're looking at May the 2nd. I've checked, council chambers is available at 5 o'clock.
Okay. All right, then we're going to table this right now, and we'll table it, postpone it, and bring it up soon.
So we would have the presentations by both firms on the same day and then vote?
Right.
Okay,
And the side by side
right.
without them there.
Okay, great.
With or without them there, the discussion's going to be in public, so.
Right. All right, well, excellent discussion, thank you very much. Okay, we're going to be moving on to 3.6, update on the Main Street Program Support Agreement between the Bastrop Economic Development Corporation and the City of Bastrop. And again, Jen, if you will lead us on that one, please.
Met with Paul Hoffman. Thank you very much, sir, for spending time with me. We were not able to gain an alignment for that particular agreement. We still have some work to be done in terms of gaining that alignment, and that's pretty much where we sit at this time.
Okay.
Is there a planned follow-up meeting?
My understanding is Ron and I had talked about looking at the agreement and figuring out what we could do to modify the agreement to gain alignment with the city. So, yes.
The council approved a shared services contract that Mr. Zek provided comments on March 1st, and we were going to discuss. And I know that there is an existing shared services contract, but, and I know that we are past and there is no contract, and I know that the dates have to be changed on the one document that we had. But because what was proposed had Main Street in it, and Mr. Zek is recommending to this board that that be a separate contract, I would like to suggest that we start with the comments that Mr. Zek made on March 1st, and he may have a recommendation of how to pull the Main Street part out of that. And if that's the basis, and we're using a contract that's drafted by our attorney based on not only the policy that council approved unanimously, but also the contract that was proposed. Mr. Zek, I know you had several corrections, but I believe you said they weren't hugely substantial, but you did recommend that some things be separate. Am I correctly summarizing that?
If I'm being completely honest, I don't remember. It's been a while since I've looked at that.
Yeah, you sent the email on March 1st.
But my recollection is there was a couple things that needed to be pulled out, and there was some clarification that I was looking for, some more specificity.
So I would offer that up as that might be a way forward to get the shared services resolved, get the Main Street pulled out, and use that as a basis for going forward.
All right, but let me just comment here that we're talking about the Main Street program. We're not talking about the service agreement.
Yeah, but the contract that was proposed by council had Main Street in it, and Mr. Zek is saying it should be a separate agreement. And so I'm saying what was in it can be the basis for what gets pulled out and starts the Main Street contract. It would give us a different
Yes.
starting place.
Yes, I agree with you. I just wanted to make the statement that, okay, super. All right, then that's kind of the direction that we'll go then. Any other comments or discussion? Okay, very good. I'm going to move on to 3.7, receive updates from the BEDC staff, the TA Bastrop, also known as Project Superglue, and the Coltzon, also known as the Project Fiesta. Hello, Jean.
Good evening, Board. Thank you for allowing us to come up and speak very quickly. Just wanted to give you guys a really quick update on TA Bastrop, otherwise known as Project Superglue. They are moving forward with their feasibility. I believe our last little component is they've finally worked with their engineer to finalize their core utility usage. So we're just finalizing with each utility that those can be served at that capacity. We've already got a few of them sorted out and figured out and confirmed. We're just working on a couple of others that we received over the weekend. So hopefully that will continue through their path on that. The feasibility period is up on, I believe, April 25th, and we are looking at a closing date of May 25th. So we are oh so close on that one. And then Coltzon, otherwise known as Project Fiesta, they did close on their property on March 31st. And so they are currently working with their engineers to start their conversations and meetings with the city to get that project moving forward as well. And I believe that is it. Does anybody have any questions? Nope.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, well, since there are no more further questions on 3.7, believe it or not, we're going to adjourn this meeting. We don't have an executive session that we're going into this meeting. So, looking for a motion?
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay. Meeting adjourned. And it is 5:50.